Welcome back, everybody. Pre-race UTMB interview, 4th year in a row for 4th place finisher at this year's Western States 100, Mr. Jeff Mogavero. Welcome to the studio, bro.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
We were just laughing about the fact that everybody mispronounces your last name, and this is our first time doing something on the Freetrail platform, which is shocking, but I'm really honored and grateful to have you here. And we were also just joking that maybe a new way to pronounce your last name is Mogavero.
Yeah, the real Italian flair. Someone Italian who's watching this can correct me on the pronunciation of my last name. But, I'm getting married in a couple weeks, and we were thinking about combining our last names to Bolsevero, which I don't think we're going to do that. But we were looking for an out to easier pronunciation, and there is none. So
when's your wedding day?
September 20th.
Okay, so our anniversary is September 16th, and I did UTMB 2 weeks before our wedding also. So maybe starting there.
There we go.
This is like a sort of a symbolic entering a new chapter here, doing your last race before officially entering into a lifelong marriage and commitment. Does this feel like an important transition moment in your life?
You know, it doesn't in a good way.
Yeah.
Like I feel like for us, our wedding is really just a celebration of everything and having all of our friends and family there, which will be really fun. But Madison, unfortunately, isn't here with me now because she's starting graduate school on Monday or Tuesday. Yeah. So she is on a plane right now and then will be launched into the fire of grad school. Yeah. So I won't have her here with me, which is a bummer. But yeah, it's so fun. We can do these things apart.
Well, I want to talk about the little adventure you guys did together here in a little bit. So we'll get to that later. Maybe quickly, as I mentioned, this is your 4th UTMB in a row. You definitely have not had the race you're capable of so far. I wrote it down here. But I mean, maybe just remind the viewers and listeners about your history here at the event and maybe in what things have you learned and in what ways have those 3 experiences set you up to hopefully have the day we know you're capable of next weekend?
Yeah, so in 2022 was my first time. I ran 22:52, got 16th, I think. On a day, I finished that day and I was like, I don't feel like I ran. I felt way too good.
Yeah.
So that was both nice and frustrating. The next year came back, dropped out after Courmayeur. And then last year, the wheels fell off and I walked it in for 30 miles. Got my hard rock qualifier. I've decided I need to start races knowing I'm going to do everything to try to finish them, even if the wheels fall off. And that's a nice mental peace of mind. And last year was unfortunately putting that into practice.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing I've learned is that I've raced with improper hydration for a decade and have run really, really poorly at anything over a 50K because of it. And last fall after UTMB, I got sweat tested and found out I'm an extremely salty sweater and I needed to quadruple my sodium intake.
Wow.
So I basically had no shot at any 100 I'd ever done. I had no shot of getting through it hydrated.
Yeah.
And the year I dropped out, I'm pretty sure I was getting hyponatremic.
Yeah. I
was woozy. Like I thought I was going to pass out. I didn't know what was going on. And that was really rough. And then finally figuring out how salty I am. I found out like a couple of weeks before Javelina last year, just intervened with a massive amount of salt and got to practice it on like 2 runs and then managed to have a good day at Javelina when it was pretty hot and I had to consume a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like 98. I don't know. But
one of the hottest Javelinas ever. Let's come back and talk about that because I do want to kind of focus especially on just this run of success that you've been on, but maybe quickly just focusing again on what was, you could call it a Vision Quest death march last year, more or less. You got your hard rock qualifier, but you know, it was a race where everybody quit. You know, there was very few individuals who had an imperfect day who still made it to the finish line. And we've been talking about it this week. People like yourself, Drew Holman, Abby Hall.
Yeah. Drew and I marched it in for a while together.
Yeah. Where'd you get? You guys are kind of duking it out a little bit at the end there.
We were together and going, he dropped me because I had to sit too many times, but it was good. I was happy to see him go.
Well, what I was getting at is like, you know, whether or not there's a spiritual or any kind of I don't know, karmic deposit that comes from those types of experiences when you see it through to the end, because, we've seen what Abby Hall just did at Western States, what you did at Western States. Drew Holman's having a great year too. In general, just curious about like last year's attrition rate, you sticking it through to the end and what value comes from that.
Yeah. I realized after I dropped out in 2023 that doing everything I can to fight to the finish is where I derive so much joy from this sport. Like, I didn't used to be good at this, or I was always had some success in the sport, but my first 100-miler was just an absolute battle that I hadn't trained for. And like, that was a vision quest. And this sport's about challenging ourselves. And sometimes we get challenged in ways we weren't expecting to. And so after I dropped out, I kind of made the decision that I'm only going to do races where I'm willing to finish, period. If I'm going to get hurt, I'm not going to finish.
Yeah. But
like saving myself for another race, I think if I subscribed to that philosophy, I'd stop having fun and I'd stop doing this. Yeah. So I'm going to keep having fun, even if it means walking it into 50th place. And I'll be back the next year.
Hell yeah. All right. We got to talk about Western States a little bit. You absolutely laced it. 14:30, the fastest debut ever. Finished 4th place. Reflect on it a little bit. I haven't heard you talk about it, but probably the race of your career to this point. And again, part of this run of success, and we'll share a few more examples of it. But first, I'd love to hear just like your personal analysis of your performance at Western States.
Yeah, it was a blast. That race was so much fun. And it was fun doing a runnable 100. After, I guess I did one at Javelina, but I think of myself as more of a mountain person, and it's fun switching gears and doing something a little different. And I actually really, really like it. Yeah. And I love the training for it. And it was a great day out there. And I keep joking. I really wanted to run with Adam for more of it. And I spent 25 miles trying to catch up to him. The whole time, all I thought was, can I just run with my buddy? And I couldn't, but yeah. So most of the day I wasn't running with people aside from the beginning, but still just such a fun day. The community is so awesome. Yeah. And having family out there, it was great.
Yeah. Amazing. We were talking to Abby Hall yesterday and then Chris Myers again today, who also obviously had fantastic performances themselves and who will be doing a double, Abby doing UTMB, yourself doing UTMB, Chris doing CCC, just about the balance between the physical recovery and also the mental recovery. You being here for the 4th year in a row, UTMB requires every ounce of both physical and mental strength that you have. I'd love to have you talk about both elements of that recovery, how you're feeling coming into it, both from a physical perspective and also whether or not you're ready to really fight the demons again mentally.
Yeah. So after Western States, took a week off. And in that week off for the second half, I guess I wasn't off. I went backpacking with my fiance, and we do that every year in this one wilderness area in Montana. Didn't see another person for 3 days. And it's just really nice and like a great mental reset. I can feel my body coming around and it starts getting antsy to do stuff. And I like to let that happen and get a little antsy before I start training again. And I think the time away from people is also just great mental recovery. Since then, it's been a little up and down, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I've never done the Western States UTMB double, so I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. My feeling was I need to really be in tune with my body and just listen to what it's telling me. If it's telling me anything, I had a little foot thing come up, so I backed off, and then I got really sick like a week or so ago. Was out for like 5 days.
I noticed you posted on Strava, like emerging from the plague.
Yeah, I was out. I don't know if I had COVID or what, but I couldn't do anything for 5 days. Yeah. And I think it was awesome. I just rested a bunch while everyone else was cooking themselves. So I think like in the past, I feel like there's a lot of people that win training for UTMB. I think I've won training before, but winning training isn't winning the race. And so I won resting, and that's good. I'm excited to go in mentally and physically rested. That's
such a great thing to bring into the conversation here, and has been part of the conversation over many years, especially as it pertains to Americans who come over here. They see the beautiful French and Italian Alps. They're doing their laps around the mountain. And then by the time the gun goes off on Friday night, they're totally cooked. So it was a balance between a forced rest with the sickness, but also sort of an intentional, coming back from Western States and saving it for when it matters most again?
I was going to see how my body was responding to things. And I think even just me getting sick, it wanted to rest. And so I had to listen to that. And I think the difference of me now versus me in the past maybe is that it didn't stress me out at all. If anything, it removed even more stress. And I've really been working on mindset and the mental side of things the last year and 2 years. And getting sick 2 weeks before, it didn't faze me. I'm not concerned about it. I feel like it somehow helped me. So I'll take it.
Can you share a little bit more about the mental practice, what you've been doing to intentionally improve in that arena?
Yeah, I think a big shift came with Javelina this past fall. I'd raced UTMB. It was 8 weeks to Javelina. I kind of hatched this plan in like July that I would do this. And I was like, well, I'm going to be recovering from UTMB. I've been doing 30 or 40,000 feet of climbing a week. Like, this is so dumb. And I always thought running 5 loops in the desert was dumb. And then I just loved the idea because I wasn't prepared for it. I was like, this is going to be like, what a fun challenge to squeeze my mountain legs into running legs. Yeah. And so I had the quickest build of my life and then went into Javelina just like, well, I have nothing to prove. Like, whatever. It's going to be fun. I'm going to go experiment, and just was really curious about it. And in turn was not stressed at all for the race. And I could feel at the start line, people around me where I was like, I can feel how stressed they are. And I was just like, this is going to be silly. And I had so much fun out there and just didn't worry the whole time. So when I did canyons, the real reason I did canyons was not to run it, but was to practice the mindset that I'd had for Javelina before Western States. Because I figured if I could replicate it there in a high stakes race, so to speak, like golden ticket race, but I didn't need a golden ticket. So I could drop out, no one would care. Like, it didn't matter. And so I was able to kind of rehearse that before States. One of my favorite things I did, I've always gotten really psyched out if you listen in a bad way to like pre-race interviews. I won't listen to the other interviews of this before the race. And I used to listen to pre-race interviews or read I Run Far. And if they didn't mention me, I'd be like, oh shoot, I don't have a shot. Yeah. And if they did, it'd be like, well, someone it seemed to only bring me down. Yeah. And I realized I couldn't look externally for confidence. Like it wasn't there. Yeah. And so before Canyons, I wrote my own pre-race show, just hyping myself up and other people too. Yes. Like I gave credit to other people as well, but I really sold myself on there. Wow. And that was a really fun practice and it made me feel better.
Was this like something that you learned yourself or that you implemented yourself, or did you have some guidance as to?
I kind of just figured it out. I knew for years that pre-race interview things didn't make me feel good, or like previews. For a long time, I tuned it out, but then it was like I'd hear a mention of things and it would get in my head. And then I've managed to find this way that it doesn't get to me. And I feel like I can control the narrative more. And it's been so powerful. And especially before States, like I wasn't nervous at all. Yeah. I was just excited to go run. And that is not a place I ever thought I'd be in.
Yeah, and so really cool. Look what the result is, man. You ran freaking 14:30. It was a hoot. You sicko. All right, well, then this is a perfect transition to talk about this run of success that you've been on, because you said basically the last 2 years you've been working on the mental side of things, and I actually just wrote down the last 2 years of results for you. So 5th at Madeira, 2nd at Broken Arrow, 2nd at Javelina, 4th at Canyons, 4th at Western States. The one thing I'm leaving out there is your slog through UTMB last year. But in general, you've clearly stepped your game up, and this is probably part of it. Is there anything else aside from the mental side of things and knowing now that you're a really salty sweater that has helped you sort of step into this new phase of your career?
I think those two things are massive. I've been working with a new coach, John Fitzgerald, and John's the man. He's been great. And so, training's been tweaked a bit, and it's so nice having him in my corner. And I feel like I had more space to think about the mental side of things. And then this winter, I got super into cooking. And I feel like I've really grabbed nutrition in a fun way. Yeah. So I bake a lot of bread now and just make food that's better and tasty.
Yeah.
And I think that has made a difference in recovery.
Yeah. Well, good job, buddy. And it's great to see the success. And yeah, it's interesting to hear maybe some of the contributing factors behind it. Talking about your training a little bit, you mentioned that you've sort of had this double in your mind, and probably since Javelina last year, right? So one thing I'd be interested in is just like kind of hear whether or not you think about both races in context, like throughout the season. I mean, I remember Jim Walmsley talking about this years ago about like how he'll, in one training block, like towards Western States, he'll like be thinking about UTMB or whatever races beyond and do things that'll set him up not only for the immediate race in front of him, but also further ahead. Is there anything there that maybe you were doing, or are you good at compartmentalizing and maybe you were focused only on Western States?
You know, so in the winter, I do a lot of time on skis, and in January and February, I almost didn't run at all. Yeah. So everything I'm doing is uphill, and I lift more in the winter, which translates a lot to downhill. And so there's that, you know, getting 30,000, 40,000 foot vert weeks in the winter. I don't think they just disappear like when you train for Western States. And I think I have this in me. And so pivoting to UTMB feels easy, not easy, but like it comes a little bit more naturally, I think, because my season, I already work in seasons, and in the winter I just go uphill.
Yeah.
And so it's a little return. I'm so used to returning to that it doesn't feel alien at all.
Yeah. So it's not like you have to flip a switch into mountain mode and all of a sudden it's totally unfamiliar.
Yeah. Like I'm using poles 80 days of the year anyway, skiing. Yeah. And so to do it running is easier than skiing anyway.
You mentioned this earlier, and it's something that we talked about on the Western States broadcast and our pre-race stuff before Western States. But I think we made the comment of like you and Hannah Allgood are kind of similar in that like for a while, me and other folks think of you more as a mountain athlete, but then clearly, I mean, Hannah won the Canyons 50K. You guys both had great Western States. You at Javelina. Is there anything you've learned about like being a more well-rounded athlete or developing in areas that were perceived weaknesses, that being like faster, flatter stuff? Is it just a matter of training?
I think for me, the common denominator between my strong performances and my weak ones is almost always the hydration piece. Same thing at Madeira. I got fifth, but I was in it until it got to the point after a 50K when you have to start hydrating. You can't flub it anymore. And like, I was toast. Yeah. And so I've basically survived anything that's longer than that, whether it's flat or mountainous. But yeah, I've done better at like mountainous 50Ks, I think just because they're shorter.
Yeah.
So it feels, Javelina was the first longer than a 50-mile race in my career where I was like, wow, that was actually racing close to my potential. Which is like great to say. It's also like, damn it, it's been a decade.
I wasted a few years.
I figured this out before. But
better late than never.
I figured it out. So I'm excited about that.
What have the last couple months looked like since Western States specifically? I think like you're kind of known as a workhorse, right? Like durable, high volume, big numbers type guy. Is that accurate? And specifically, I'd love to hear like how you bounced back from Western States and what the training looked like.
Yeah, I love volume. If I didn't have to race, I'd run so much more. I mean, I love racing, but I joke that like when I'm retired, I'm just going to run 150 miles a week every week and it's going to be awesome. So I like doing high volume, did some pretty high volume before States. After States, it has not been as high volume. And I think a lot of that's just been listening to what my body needs at the time, and it didn't want high volume. So we didn't do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's a problem. I've got a decade of it in my legs. Yeah. 3 weeks of lower volume isn't going to end anything.
Yeah, I think that's interesting and cool. And I was looking at your Strava too, and you noticed this in some of your posts where you're like, you know, bad weather, wasn't feeling good, cut it short here today. So good lessons for the audience. Tell me a little bit about this backpacking trip. I think it was in Switzerland with your soon-to-be wife.
Yeah. So we did, Madison has wanted to do a hut trip for a while, and I also have, but I'm always like, no, I can't. Training. Yeah. And we compromised, and the plan was I would do 2 big days alone, but we'd like reconvene at the hut. Then I'd hike a day with her, 2 big days, I'd hike a day. And we thought that was a nice balance of us both doing what we wanted to do. And it ended up being, I spent more time with her just because my body needed that.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was so much fun. We had some exciting weather and some rain and snow. So I know the forecast is looking a little cool for UTMB. So we'll be ready for that.
Yeah.
But it was just such a blast, and like staying in the huts and a different Alps experience than I've had before. It's probably where I got sick, but so it goes. It was worth it.
Also, just long, slow days on foot.
Yeah, some big slow days on foot with a pack that made the UTMB pack feel light. So that's nice too.
Awesome.
Carrying 8 Snickers bars at a time.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can wind down. I'd love to hear just kind of like how you're thinking about the race from a goals perspective. Like, has Javelina, Western States, the mental side of things, solving for this hydration issue, does it make you approach the race any differently than you have the last 3 years, or give you more confidence that, you know, maybe you belong at the front of the race?
Definitely. I think in the past, the first year I was scared. The second year I was blindly confident and was just I think I was focusing too much on splits and things. The third year, probably still focusing on splits too much. And I'm at a point now where I just don't care about splits at all. Like Western States, I didn't know a single split all day. Adam and I talked before the race and we were like, oh yeah, Duncan Canyon, I think 3:30 is a good time. I had no idea what that was. And I just remember looking, I was like, oh, we're under 3:30. I guess that means something. But I had no clue the whole day. Yeah. And same at Javelina, same at Canyons. Like, I think I've gotten a lot better at just knowing where my boundaries are as far as how far I can push myself and trying not to overstep them. And if I do, giving myself some recovery, but pushing as hard as I can for me on that day. Because, you know, you look at like Western States and the way people have run fast has been different every year. Yeah. And it's different races and different people and different bodies. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not super concerned with if people pull ahead of me at mile 15 on next Friday. It's like, that's okay. And that happened at Western States where I dropped back to 10th at mile 25. And that's because we were going up a hill. Seth started leading and took it faster than I wanted to go. And I just remember looking at my watch and I was like, wow, my heart rate seems high. I just started walking and 8 people passed me. And I was like, oh, I'll wait for Adam. He's behind me. We can chat a little bit. Then he dropped me too. But that saved my race. Yeah. I mean, 10 minutes of going slow. I think other people paid for that. And I knew that wasn't where I was going to win the race.
Wow. So interesting. Like just getting these little nuggets from guys like you are in the mix, in the battle there. Well, Jeff, dude, congratulations on all your amazing success over the last couple of years. And especially, you know, this summer at Western States, an amazing performance, super inspiring to see. And we hope you can duplicate it next weekend at UTMB.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah. I keep saying UTMB has my soul and I'd like it back. So that's what I'm here for.
Go get it back. Cheers, buddy.